I've tried to teach a business coach, I want to keep the same revenue but have more profit. They can never understand that.
What is it exactly that Melfire does?
The occasional burst fire hydrant, we replace fire panels. We're just here to do a little bit of work and do it really well.
And that's the problem with your industry, is that you need to be so heavily qualified.
It's mind-blowing how much I don't know, and it's mind-blowing how much there is to know about fire safety in a building now.
How do you feel about the digital marketing space?
We paid a web designer and we had no idea what was going on. And that's made me scared of web designers ever since.
I want to talk about your blogging.
I've had a big commitment to blogging, and I've paid engineers, for example, retired engineers, to write my blog and to just put out one a week. It's the best investment you can do.
What do you think the state of apprentices are within the trade industry as a whole?
So I think they're exploited. I think they're given tasks to do that they can learn very quickly, and that it's given those tasks for a certain amount of time. So when I started the locksmithing business, they said that you have to spend 10% of your revenue on marketing.
I think McDonald's spends around 7% of their revenue on marketing, which is a lot of money. For small business, I don't think that's necessarily appropriate.
The best thing for any business is
From the moment you sign up to be a tradie business owner, you are constantly trying to grow your business. From more vans, more blokes, to more jobs. But when is it big enough? Well, in this episode, I chat with Drew Mountney from Melfire Fire Maintenance. Drew's no bullshit approach to business is bloody refreshing. And now in his 21st year of business, he shares how he's been able to simplify his business and just cruise along with low effort and maximum output. This will now be officially my 18th episode of the Digital Tradie, and that's already shitloads of value, but there is plenty more to come. So if you want to support this podcast, the best thing that you can do is share this with a mate. This week it's James. You know James, he's been hanging out for a legendary podcast, so pause it right now. It's only going to take you 30 seconds and share it with him. Because the more people that find out about this podcast, the more tradies I get to reach and show the next generation how awesome a trade can be. And if you don't know James, maybe you could consider a cheeky 5-star review. You know, I dare you. I dare you do it. Righto, let's get into it.
Drew, you bloody legend. Welcome to the podcast.
thanks for coming to McLeod, Dave.
It's a beautiful workshop, actually.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. So I wanted to start off by asking a very dramatic question.
Go for it.
What has been the biggest fire incident that you've seen or been involved in?
Biggest fire?
Hmm.
No, because we're sprinkler protected in Melbourne since 1886. There's not many fires I've been to. The biggest floods are a different question. So we don't get fires, right? No one's died that I know of in any recent...
I didn't need anyone to die.
No. There's been no significant fire in Australia that I know of with a sprinkler protected building where there's been a major loss. So unless we're talking about major chemical plants, which is a different story, in Melbourne and Victoria, since 1886, and that the Great Fire of Melbourne was before that, there's been no major fire in a sprinkler protected building. We might have 12 heads go off, which causes a lot of water damage, but we don't actually get fires. We don't get deaths.
That's crazy to me.
It is insane. So if you look at the fires that have happened, so if you look at Queensland with the Backpackers fire, non-sprinkler protected building, anything where there's non-sprinkler protected, there's been fires, but anything that's sprinkler protected, we've had no major incidents. Now, there was the incident in Kew many years ago with I don't really know much about it, some sort of hospital or some sort of place over there in Kew. There was some incident there, but that wasn't sprinkler protected as far as I know. That was an issue to do with detection.
Why was it not sprinkler protected?
Yeah, I don't know the research on that. I should have looked into that before now. But I know that wasn't sprinkler protected. And if it was, I stand corrected. But yeah, we don't get fires. We get major floods. So when a sprinkler head goes off, the fire brigade gets about 8 minutes to get there, from what I understand. So
that's on average, is it?
Yeah. So when the sprinkler head goes off, water starts flowing, pressure switch engages, fire trucks leave the station. They've got about 8 minutes to get to site. And then from what active firefighters have told me, they've got 7 minutes to turn the water off. So you get 15 minutes of water flowing through a building. In my experience, destroys about 3 or 4 apartments because the water will come through the ceiling, below, out to the side. You just get water damage. And that's why insurance bills are through the roof for apartments, is water damage, either through leaks or whatever, and obviously the sprinkler system. You won't get a total loss in my incident. And look, the first sprinkler system I saw that went off was a 100-year-old sprinkler system in Elizabeth Street, maybe 80 years old. It caused a shit ton of damage to the building. Like, there was just water everywhere. But yeah, that's the great thing about sprinklers, right? They save lives. They save more lives than doctors.
Yeah, well, essentially, there is a whole heap of standards governing what you do.
Yep.
You can't build a building in Melbourne without actually having these sprinklers installed.
Well, you could build a building up to 25 metres high, which is 8 stories roughly.
Without a
Without
sprinkler
sprinkler
system at
system,
all.
there are buildings in Melbourne, like I know there's in Carlton. Fire Brigade told me about this, or firemen on the street, on the side of the road, have told me that there's particular buildings in Carlton that are 25 metres high without sprinklers. Now, the BCA, the Victorian government, whoever else, they changed the regulations around that to limit it to, I think it's 2 stories above ground. So, and that only went into force in the last 4 years. So we can't build buildings greater than 2-3 stories now without sprinkler protection.
And what type of sprinkler detection are you talking about? Because when I think of sprinkler detection, it's
Or protection.
it's the essential or quintessential like red pipe, galvanized pipe that runs through. Is that what you're talking
Black
about?
steel. So it's steel. So we use galvanized pipe, which I've got a piece here. So we use galvanized pipe in hydrant systems because the water's more fluid, it's moving more often. They use black steel or plastic or copper for part 1, part 4 systems. And yeah, it's just running through a building. The laws of fluid hasn't really changed. Hydraulics haven't really changed. We're still putting steel pipe through a building with sprinkler heads. Chemical reacts, it explodes, it lets water out, puts out the fire. That hasn't changed since they invented it 130 years ago. It's a remarkable bit of technology, yeah.
So these are those sprinkler heads that sit on the pipe.
Yeah.
And they essentially heat up,
Yep.
and then they just explode, releasing the valve, and it just lets out water. That's it.
That's it. So I've got a rig that my 8-year-old kid made up on the weekend in the back of my car. At the end of the podcast, we'll video it. We'll get the blowtorch out and we'll set one off.
Oh, really? Awesome.
My son made it on Saturday, so we can thank Rosanna Primary School.
Thanks,
Adrian and
guys.
Harry put one together with some flexible. Here we go. Here's one they let off. Here's the rig. So the boys on the weekend wanted to know how a sprinkler works, so they put together this flexi nozzle, and that's a head that blew out. They put the blowtorch onto it with a garden hose to see how it worked. So we'll do that at the end of the
That'd be
podcast.
awesome. Yeah. No, that'd be grouse. Yeah.
So they've done it. It's been done. The testing's been done by 8-year-olds and it works.
Perfect.
Yeah.
8-year-old certified.
Yeah, they're certified. They put that together. So they know what a barrel union is, a coupling, nipple. They're all over it.
I love it.
That was 2 hours from to work that out.
Very good.
That's why the place was a mess when you got in and you had to sweep the floor.
Mate, it was perfectly clean when I got here. That's what you... Now, I want to talk about when I started my trade, there was very little talk in school about actually becoming a tradie, let alone being a fire service technician. I want to know, how does someone like yourself get into the fire industry? Where did you begin?
So I began in Tasmania, and I wasn't very good at school. So I left in like maybe year 10, and there wasn't many apprenticeships around. So my mum, of all people, arranged someone that my grandfather did his apprenticeship with to become a locksmith. So I started locksmithing in Tasmania, and we had to fly to West Heidelberg, so I haven't left, with McLeod, West Heidelberg, very close. We had to fly here to come to trade school. And then Tasmania was getting a bit boring as a 19-year-old, so I left Tassie, got a job in Melbourne, and started as a locksmith, and then we were doing fire doors. So, doors and locks and fire and that sort of stuff. So and then there was no work when I finished my apprenticeship, so I had to start my own business as a locksmith.
You started straight out of your apprenticeship?
Yeah, I
ran your own business?
Yeah, within a couple of days had to start. There was no work back then.
Wow.
Melbourne was pretty tiny. It wasn't a big place. There wasn't much.
We're talking in 1954, right?
No, we're talking the early 2000s. There was not much going on.
Really? That's crazy.
No, there wasn't much going on. And the internet wasn't around, yeah? So Google was new, because I think that started in 98, yeah? Google started.
Jeez, you're testing me.
Google started in about 98. So Google was new. We didn't have any, WordPress websites and stuff. We had to code from HTML. We had Yellow Pages books, so you'd get into Richmond and do a deal with the lady to get Yellow Pages. So you couldn't start your business till the Yellow Pages was coming out for that period of
Oh,
time.
you had to wait before the print came out. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
obviously you could
Yeah,
start
yeah,
it,
you
but
couldn't-
needed clientele.
You needed clients, yeah. So we
Yeah.
used leader newspapers. So I started as a locksmith, but that didn't really work out because there wasn't a, apart from grand final day, there wasn't very many days that people were locking themselves out of their house, right? So we had some customers. We did that. That didn't really work out. So I hired a guy to teach me house alarms.
Okay.
So we're doing fire doors and stuff, but that wasn't big back then. Like I remember Epping Plaza asked me to audit their fire doors, and I think it was the only client that ever asked me for fire doors because people weren't worried about auditing and stuff back then.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then we started doing house alarms, which led me into doing fire alarms. Then I did an electrical apprenticeship because I was doing electrical, so I thought it'd be a good idea. And then that progressed into doing a sprinkler fitting apprenticeship. So I've stayed in the same business for 21 years, I think.
Wow.
So, but it's just that it's progressed along the way, and that's pretty much how the fire industry has progressed. It wasn't very big back in the early 2000s.
It's not that long ago, though. It's
It's
25 years ago?
25 years ago, it wasn't huge. Like we still, in terms of sprinkler fitting companies, there wasn't that many back then. Like most of the guys you speak to these days have had their business for 5, 10 years. There wasn't many sprinkler systems.
Yeah, okay.
There wasn't many commercial buildings, and you had major fire companies looking after it.
Yeah.
This is all pre-iPhone and stuff, yeah. So most things in the economy have gone like that since we got smartphones.
Yeah.
Prior to that, what happened? Nobody knows.
It just happened. The boring businesses just did their thing. didn't
Yeah,
they?
that's what we did. And then when everything changed since then. So I got into it through learning how to do doors, which we still do, fire alarms and sprinklers. And I'm just unfortunate in that I started so long ago that I have to do it all.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I don't do very much because I'm scared of. I know what can go wrong, so I'm more scared than other people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened.
Yeah. Can you still do a sprinkler fitting apprenticeship? Just
Yeah. I did mine. Thanks VBA. I did mine in Randwick. So I did 30 trips to Sydney to do my apprenticeship.
wow. You had to go to Sydney to do your apprenticeship.
Yeah, it's a whole long story, but yeah, I couldn't get in Melbourne here, so
Oh.
I had to go to Sydney. So that was great.
And, I mean, are they people you can just come straight out of school and do a sprinkler fitting apprenticeship?
Yeah.
But it seems like there's so many different facets to the fire industry.
Yeah. So
Do they teach you other stuff?
no.
No.
So I think in the module there's 30 odd units, maybe 24 units in a sprinkler fitting apprenticeship. I think the only thing that sort of deviates is fire hydrants and hose reels, which is sort of within that water-based stuff. They teach you how to test a fire panel, and they teach you how to install a fire extinguisher. So the apprenticeship does not encompass, electrical, which is incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
Anybody that says they're an expert in detection these days is a lunatic because there's so much to know about detection, spacing and cable types and panels and stuff. It's crazy. They don't teach you detection. They don't teach you doors. So doors and passive are a big thing now.
Elaborate. What do you mean?
So doors are fire doors, right? So a fire door stops. If you have a compartment of a certain size, say 2,000 square meters, you might need to have a physical fire barrier between the next compartment.
Gotcha. Okay.
So unless we put in different types of ventilation systems. So on that wall door, we have a fire door.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredibly complicated piece of equipment because it's got so many moving parts. People actually use it. That requires a lot of technical knowledge to install a fire door, make it, manufacture it, maintain, manufacture, and service. It's quite a lot of work. And then any pipes you have going through it will have a collar. So some sort of fire barrier to stop the fire spreading between the two compartments. All of that's witchcraft to me. It's I don't quite understand, and I don't think anybody understands passive. So we call that stuff passive. So the sprinkler fitting is one component, detecting the fire is another component. Then we have the passive component as well, which is the physical structure of the building. And then it gets really confusing, because a firewall is designed by a civil engineer, have some performance changes by a fire safety engineer. It's built by a builder that has no connection to that stuff and has no idea necessarily what they're doing because they're worried about the slab and getting the bloody thing built. And then some fire service technician's got to come along and check that it's compliant every year.
Which is Drew.
Which is me, but it's just it's mind blowing how much I don't know, and it's mind blowing how much there is to know about fire safety in a building now. So that all came about, and I don't know how it came about. So we've got a set of regulations called the National Construction Code, and if you build your building within the boundaries of the National Construction Code, you're pretty safe, because it might say you've got to have a fire hydrant outside the stairwell inside the stairwell, and you've got to have a fire door and 2 fire exits and no more than 14 meters from blah blah blah. If you build within that, you're pretty safe. But because real estate's getting so tight, they use performance solutions. So that means they remove safety components within the National Construction Code, but then have to add back. And where you get that add back is where the problem comes.
Yeah.
Because these apartments have mainly had a lot of the issues around the built environment, so the issues with the constraints on site removed, and then they're putting these additional requirements onto the building. So that might mean extra detection, extra sprinklers. Well, not really extra sprinklers, that's never the case, but might have extra components required to make that building safe. And that's where it becomes a real problem for the maintenance company, is figuring out what that performance solution actually meant.
Because it's bespoke,
It's bespoke per building.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's a lunacy.
And I would assume you'd have some sort of dossier, some sort of documentation stating why they made those decisions.
Yeah, that's in Victoria. It's the maintenance determination. And then, you're expected someone with a Cert 2 or Cert 3 qualification to, manage that through a 12-month period, or somebody that knows nothing about fire.
Yeah, right.
It's dangerous. I say that, fire safety engineering has to be done, but they never think about the end fire contractor. They're writing a document from someone that's done 6 years at university, not expecting that someone that's done a Cert 2 online is going to be able to read this.
Yeah.
There's not a handy hints guide to performance safety engineering.
What's kind of interesting to me is that, so I've come from an electrical background, I'm an electrician, I understand AS3000 and a couple other standards.
Do you really?
Around it. I've read it.
Have you?
At school.
Yeah, so did I.
I shouldn't say I understand.
I've got a 2003 copy around here.
So, but what blows me away is just the amount of different people you have to appease, and also the standards that you have to actually apply to as well. How do you actually navigate that?
No, we don't.
You don't?
No, and anyone that says they did, they're an idiot, right? You can't possibly say you're an expert in fires. So if you're a company that does installations of sprinklers, I can guarantee you, because of the way it's set up with our training and our union, that the guys that install sprinklers in an apartment block are bloody fantastic. They can install those things perfectly every time. 100% guarantee. That's fine, but the detection is a bit risky because it's sparkies like you and me coming to do it. They don't have specific training in it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit touch and go, and the rest of it's who knows what happens. So the sprinklers are 100% okay, but everything else is touch and go. You might have plumbers doing fire hydrant systems that, we found one the other day that had a 40 mil pipe feeding a 100 mil fire hydrant. They'd never run a manion. It had been certified, but I don't know how they got it to work. So 40 mil pipe feeding, running a 100 mil standpipe and a fire hydrant. I don't know how it works. I don't know. It was a bit of farm pipe too that is tapped off for a subdivision. But you'd have to take a shovel, yeah? You actually got to dig a hole. That's why you got to get dirty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, you're asking a question about how does it actually all come together? I don't know. And nobody talks to each other. Nobody really knows it all.
Yeah.
So you might have building surveyors that are fantastic in issuing permits for slabs, but they're also doing stuff to do with fire safety.
And these are, so you mentioned the VBA before. Are they essentially signing off on new builds?
The VBA is our regulator. So
overall regulator?
Overall regulator for plumbing and building, yeah.
So that also applies to when you do amendments or do maintenance and stuff like that, yeah?
Yeah, so a
you need to
VBA.
answer to them.
Well, in theory, yeah, but I don't know how much. I don't want to get sued, yeah.
Yeah.
They've got a new chief building surveyor for Victoria, a new chief building surveyor from the city of Melbourne who's just taken over a few months ago, and apparently he's pretty good. So hopefully, we've got a new cop on the beat that'll start figuring stuff out. It's different than electrical, right? Like I know that the Energy Safe is one of the best regulators in Australia, yeah. And I was always told when I did my apprenticeship here, we're the most regulated state in the country. I'm sure you were told that as well. Yeah. I'm very confident that if I ring the ASV, they know what the hell they're talking about. And I'm sure your experience will be the same.
Exactly, yeah.
There's no reason to question the competence of ASV. A lot of plumbers in my short time doing sprinkler fitting question the competence of the VBA. So hasn't got the same authority. We know that we've got awesome people down there at ASV that know exactly what they're doing. If one of them come on site and said you've done something wrong, you're not going to argue with them.
Yeah.
They're 99.9% right. The VBA's, I don't know what's happened.
Do you think maybe that they're playing devil's advocate? They've got sort of a low budget. Maybe they just don't have. They've got to be across a lot of different industries as well, right? So that's the Victorian Building Authority,
correct,
across all new buildings as well.
It's a ridiculous situation where we don't have a it should be separated so that you've got a plumbing regulator and a building regulator. And then hopefully you'd get a chief plumber in, that oversees the plumbing department. Some grumpy old bastard that knows everything. And that's really important in any regulator. It has to have a chief that knows what they're doing. I don't know who the chief plumber is for Victoria. It'd be great if you could comment on this podcast. I'd love to have lunch with you.
Well, in my eyes, I say that potentially fire should fall under ESV because energy safe. They've got electrical, gas. Essentially, you've got a stored potential energy in water.
Yeah, if you're going to separate fire out, you think you'd potentially put it under ESV.
Exactly.
Because they're a fantastic regulator.
Yeah, just because.
No, they are. They're scared of you. Like, no, and that's a cultural thing, at ESV, about how we always had the chief. All the old Sparkies like Ken that walks in. We'll talk about the chief. They still think there's a chief electrician down there. I don't know if there is. Yeah, you're right. You think you would have the fire that falls under ESV. It's energy safe. It's an energy. Fire is energy. Yeah. It's a release of energy. Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been thinking about that a bit ever since we met. So I just thought, interesting to contemplate it.
Maybe we can force some change.
Yeah, maybe with this podcast. We can do it.
Energy, fire, safe Victoria. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, exactly.
EFSB.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it.
Put a flame next to
the... So what is it for the listeners? What is it exactly that Melfire does?
We don't, like I said to the bloke at the cafe, we don't do a lot.
You try not to do a lot?
We try not to do a lot.
But you do it really well.
We do a small amount of work. We do it really well. Look, we mainly do repairs. It's repairs that other people don't want to do. So, it's the occasional burst fire hydrant. We dig concrete up, fix the stuff underground. We replace fire panels. We do some project management around fire installation stuff. So stuff in the countryside that other people can't work out, we'll figure out how to get your plans and permits for new fire systems. That's a time-consuming exercise. Mm-hmm. It's a documentation thing because that's project management. So we do project management. A lot of OCs we don't have the capacity to do their maintenance, but we might step in and do repairs or look at things that need fixing. And that stems from the electrical side, the passive, and the wet stuff. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we try to do as little as possible, Dave. I don't want to get sued, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't trust people anymore. So we're not here to break world records or land speed records. We're not here to, have huge turnover. We're just here to do a little bit of work and do it really well. And
you're a very humble man.
No, I'm not humble. I'm not humble. I'm scared, yeah? I'm scared of expansion.
Something that I think that I've seen from you, from the outside looking in, is that you're very big on education within your particular industry. Mm. And people that you work with, like facilities managers and stuff like that, like what education are you putting out to help those people currently?
No, well, we're trying to do education, but it's very complicated.
It didn't sound complicated when I was listening to you were doing a webinar. It was fantastic.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we do webinars and stuff for OC managers, but it's complicated because when you're doing a webinar, you've got to keep it within a time limit, yeah? Mm. And because everything seems to touch on every other point, it can take 8 hours to do a 2-hour presentation.
You can get distracted
very easily, yeah. So yeah, we do webinars, we do on-site training for people that need that stuff. We don't charge for that. We just do that for fun. We like talking to people. I'm not a very good not a trained person giving presentations, but it's a lot of fun. We try and answer as many questions as we can and refer people on to others. So yeah, we do try to train people. And look, we've brought people like Roger in to talk to them, which went for 2 hours or something.
Yeah.
It's hard, and I don't think it's been done.
No, it's not. That's why I was saying
it's not been done.
It's important for your industry.
It's important for our industry. We've got another meeting coming up where 2 fire pumps on an 11-story building have been turned off for 2 years. I'll show you that next. So if you've got an 11-story building, it's pumped off tanks. You've got 2 diesel engines, water tank coming into 2 pumps, and that pumps up to a combined hydrant and sprinkler system. The engines have been turned off for 2 years, and you've got 400 residents in there. It's scary.
Yeah. Well, how does that even happen?
Remember you talked about agency?
Yeah.
And you explained how the digital marketing area works with agencies and they just, take the money and give it off to people. That's how the fire industry works in Victoria.
That's pretty crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
So you have a company that says, hey, we're ABC Fire, but then they have to subcontract their mechanical, which we've talked about, and that's logical. Mechanical in car parks is complicated, yeah?
Mm.
But then they're subcontracting their sprinklers. They may be doing the detection in-house. They're subcontracting the passive, and they're subcontracting the auditing, yeah?
Yeah.
So, you know, you might only be doing 1 or 2 components in-house,
Yeah.
and then you're relying on experts for the other things. And that's dangerous.
It can be dangerous.
Because
Yeah.
the directors generally haven't done 3 apprenticeships.
And that's the problem with your industry, is that you need to be so heavily qualified to know all these different parts.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily blame them.
No, I don't
No,
blame
for
them.
outsourcing a lot of their stuff. They have to.
They have to. But the directors should have some knowledge of how things work.
You would think so.
Right? And that's the part that concerns me, is that I've spent, 12 years at trade school and started university, but the only other sprinkler fitter and electrician in Victoria, I think there's one guy.
Really?
Yeah, but I haven't met him before.
Okay.
But I've been told there's one guy.
Mm.
But there might be 2 or 3. There might be 4 now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're going to say there's less than 20. There's less than 20 sprinkler fitters and electricians in Victoria. I can't get sued for that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there's not many people that have done both apprenticeships and have a broad understanding of the active fire, which is the detection and the electrical.
Yeah.
So the detection, the electrical, and the wet side. There's 3 components there, because the electrical is important as well. Yeah.
Of course.
You've got lighting and pumps that are electric, and
Yeah.
you need to have an understanding of electricity to be able to do this job.
It's a crazy industry. It is quite amazing, actually. When I got dug deeper into it, I'm like, I want to leave and get out of this industry.
Well, you know how to run a laptop, yeah?
Yeah, I know how to do that.
Yeah, you should be fine. You can start to become a programmer tomorrow.
Well, you mentioned digital marketing and agencies and stuff like that. Something that was really funny when you came to me is that you said, I'm on my 10-year, 7-year cycle, whatever it is. I need to renew all my marketing. How do you feel about the digital marketing space currently? What's your gut feeling? Because I've had other people come to me saying, look, I'm a bit scared about engaging you because I've had bad experiences in the past. What is your experience with digital marketing?
So we run on a 7-year, so we're in our 21st year of business. We run on a 7-year cycle. So when I first started, I don't know, we paid a few $100s and figured out how to make a website, and we're using paper books. And that got me through the first 7 years. Then I got another guy called Andy from Baronia. When I lived in Baronia, I walked down the hill and Andy built my website. It was lovely.
Good on him.
Yeah, and he built the dog that I've got, Steve.
Oh, yeah?
Which I've kept and tried to get rid of, and people love Steve, so I had to keep him. Don't know why his name's Steve. Steve the bulldog. And then, so that was great, because you could actually go into his office, you knew he was doing it, and bang, you got a website that lasted for 7 years. Then the last time we did it, we got a lady who lived in Mansfield to do it. But before we hired her, we paid a web designer and went into the city, and my wife went in there and we paid for it. And we had no idea what was going on.
How so? What do you mean?
Well, the guy that sold it to us had no idea what was going on.
Okay.
What we wanted, he wasn't delivering. So we paid for it and just told him to get it stuffed. We never went back. We went to the lady in Mansfield because we could actually understand what she was talking about. She would respond to emails. Yeah, she might have been getting it done offshore, but she was responding and doing what we wanted, and we could see some development. When we went to this big company, we had no idea. Like, the guy was fantastic. Like, a great guy to have lunch with. Great guy to pay money to, because clearly he convinced us to pay money, but he had no idea what was going on with our website.
Did you get a refund?
No.
Really?
No. And that's made me scared of web designers ever since.
Yeah.
I don't think I engaged you to do our website, by the way. I don't know if I paid you.
You haven't paid me for the website stuff yet.
That's how I roll, right?
By the way, I had an analogy before with websites, was that Drew showed me his website through a window of a house. And when I got in there was no washers on the taps. There was
no walls.
No walls.
Cardboard cutouts of the kitchen.
Bloody joking. Yeah. He's looking schmick now, all right? I fixed up and patched up all the holes, mate, so it looks great.
Thanks, Dave. So when we went in there, we just had no confidence. You've got to form a relationship with the person that's doing your digital marketing. They've got to know they're a real person.
Yeah.
It's really important. It's a long-term commitment.
I think so too.
Like, you 100%. Might not, a lot of people want you to pay $700 a month for this and that, and I've got no problems paying the $700, but you've got to get something for that money.
Yeah.
You got to get a hug and a coffee, right?
At least.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. So if you're going to pay money to a website person, make sure they really exist. Make sure they're committed to running their business.
Yeah.
And you've got to go with someone that, again, it comes back to this knowing what you're doing. I had no confidence that the guy in the city knew what he was doing, so I just left him with the money and went to the lady in Mansfield, who did a great job, by the way, and that lasted me for 7 years.
And we're on the 7,
This is the
14-year cycle at the end of it. Yeah.
So I've always believed it's a 7-year investment. You put a lot of work into the first 12 months, 2 years of your website, and that should get you enough customers, enough work to last you for another 5, 6, 7 years, and then you've got to redo it. I don't know what's the technology cycle of a website these days?
Oh, honestly, you could set up a WordPress website, your old one, you could have run with that forever, honestly. The design in that, obviously, aesthetically, is being upgraded quite a bit, but you could have potentially run that for forever if you updated it every month, doing it properly.
So when I started the locksmithing business in the early 2000s, they said that you had to spend 10% of your revenue on marketing. Which is a lot of money if you think about the turnover of businesses these days.
I think that's an old adage that comes from your big corporates. So we're talking about McDonald's and stuff like that. I think McDonald's spends around 7% of their revenue on marketing, which is a lot of money. Like we're talking, Coca-Cola and all that, they do the same. For small business, I don't think that's necessarily appropriate.
Well, back in the day, though, when we were paying for yellow pages.
Oh, how much were that?
Look, the lady bought me lunch, yeah?
Yeah.
It was a $16,000 investment for a quarter page. And that was a lot of money. Well, how long's the yellow pages last? A year. It was
$16,000 for a year for an ad placement.
Yeah, that was a quarter page. That was to get you up the front. So the more money you spent, the closer to the start of the yellow pages you got. Well, the category. So if you're an electrician and you bought a whole page, it could cost you back then $70,000. It could have been 4 guys that had bought a whole page. But until the first guy that's been there the longest dropped off, then the first guy would move in.
Really?
Yeah, that's how it worked. It was a daisy chain.
So your equivalent these days, let's go with Google Ads. I mean, you could choose to do that for 6 weeks rather than a whole year. And just put yourself up at the top, and then hopefully you can get some leads that way for a short period. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to commit to having the staffing level too to
service it all.
To service it, because you had the work coming in. Yeah. Everyone
for a year too. Like exactly right. You'd have to plan for a whole year. If those leads kept coming in and you can't service it.
It was a problem.
Word. Did that happen to you?
No.
Oh.
I never got that much work. I was lazy, yeah. Got disinterested in it. No, we did it. And then we did Leader newspaper.
How did that go?
It was fantastic.
And I used to love Leader newspaper as a kid.
It was great. And then we had a competitor to it too. I don't know who they were. Star Advertiser or something. And you used to pay your money to them, and they would put ads in the paper, and then you'd get work, and then you'd know it was coming out on a Wednesday in Thomastown, and you'd get phone calls from Tomo that day.
That's great.
And you'd pay, Thomastown might have incorporated Laylaw and Epping and stuff. I don't know how the geography works, but that was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was a good thing to do. And then you get a paper-based invoice, and send them a check, and off they go again.
I mean, obviously those things don't exist now. So we've got newspapers, but there's very, very little people reading them, particularly online and in print. Now, obviously, we've got our online advertisers, Facebooks, Instagrams, whatever, Meta, and then Google Ads, right? So is there anything else you've needed to venture into? Because you're fairly well established.
No, we don't. No, I deleted my LinkedIn.
No LinkedIn at all?
No, I don't have LinkedIn, don't have Facebook, don't have any of that. It's too addictive. Yeah. You waste too much time on it, yeah?
You can, yeah, it's very addictive.
Yeah, if you've got my personality, like, I just want to watch it, I just want to watch it. No, it's too much time wasting. Look, I've always, the best thing for any business is blogging.
I want to talk about your blogging. Can you explain what you've done with your blogging? Because I was very impressed.
Well, so I've had a big commitment to blogging, and I've paid engineers, for example, retired engineers, to write my blog and to just put out one a week, follow me around and take photos and put out a blog once a week. It's the best investment you can do. Whatever your particular niche is, your topic, I don't know what it could be, suitcase repairs. Just write 2 years worth of blogs on suitcase repairs. It'll pay off for the next 5. We have a particular blog on some sort of fire seal. I get a call every second day from somebody about fire seals. I don't sell fire seals, but I like talking to them. I get phone calls from all around Australia. Sometimes that's my time wasting thing. Write a blog on a particular topic and get a phone call. They love talking about it. But yeah, it's interesting. Blogs are the best thing, and they last forever.
They do. They're your IP. They're on your website.
They're on my website. Yeah. If you do Facebook and Instagram and I don't know, whatever the bloody bullshit you've got, don't own any of that.
No.
You can get that deleted in a heartbeat. But if you've got your own blogs, yeah, it takes a while, but it's a fantastic investment. And the more, I've said this to you before, the more spelling mistakes, the more authentic Google thinks it is.
Yes. Or more authentic people think it is. I think that's more to the point. Because Google often will react to, the algorithm will react to the authenticity of people and how they actually engage with your website. So if they're commenting saying, I do this a lot as well in my social media stuff, people will comment on a spelling mistake, and that's engagement. So you still get a tough seeing the comments on your blogs
we've got to fix that, yeah?
Yeah.
We've got to fix the blogs. We've got to put, what's that program called? There's a program that blocks word fence or something?
Yeah,
we've got to put word fence on it to stop the overseas people.
Yeah.
We've got to sort my blog comments out so they actually come up on the website.
Yeah, you've got a fair bit of spam coming through there.
Yeah,
yes,
we expect you to fix that for free.
Yeah.
No.
WordFence comes with the website, mate. That's the package, mate. It's in there.
No, you got to pay a subscription.
No, you can get a free version.
You don't get the good stuff unless you pay them the money.
You can pay the subscription, mate. You'll be fully word fenced.
Yeah, right. I want to get fully word fenced. No, the blogs are fantastic, and if people put the effort in, you'll get the reward. I wouldn't waste. Look, Facebook's an instant hit, yeah. You're instantly going to get responses. That might be important to you right now, but if you put the effort into blogs, long term over 10 years, it's a fantastic investment. It's free.
100% agree.
If you're concerned about, and you're not going to get the negative comments you do on social media as a bad blog, yeah. People, you can stop the comments on there if someone's going to have a go at you. You're in control of it. It's yours.
Exactly.
You can pay someone to go and edit it, but I genuinely think just do it, get it up there, and get someone to fix your spelling mistakes later. Do it, get it on there, if at all. If at all, and videos, photos, any of the work you're doing, is put it on your website, get it up there, and get someone to get in there and fix up the grammatical errors and the typos later. That's not going to cost you much. But WordPress, you can do it on your phone. When I last did it, you can just do it on your phone as an app. It's easy to do. And the longer you do it, the more you do it, the more people think your business is alive. And don't use AI.
Yeah.
I've tried to use that. It doesn't work. People can tell that it's shit.
I wanted to use you as a case study because many of your blogs are literally a title, a very small body of text, if any, and you've got a ton of photos.
Yeah.
This is unlike any other, what people conventionally would say a blog needs to look like.
No, people love
it. But it gets awesome engagement.
It does. It's photos. It's shitty photos.
Yeah.
And a little bit of text. No, I'm a big fan of blogs. Big fan of podcasts too.
Yeah.
I've never listened to your podcast, by the
way. So you said you were getting followed around by an engineer. You were like an early Gary V. Someone following you around taking photos.
Yeah, I hope she's listening. Pat, she was amazing. She was the first or second female. God, I hope I don't get this wrong, Pat. She was either the first or second female engineer to come out of Monash University in the 1970s.
Okay.
And I hired her to teach me mathematics in the early 10 years ago. So I went to her house to learn mathematics. You know how I'm terrible at maths, but I've had maths tutors my whole life, just even though I'm terrible at it. And she was teaching me maths at her house. And I said, do you think you could do some blogs for me? And she said, yeah, sure. So I paid her to follow me around, take photos, and then she would write blogs. She did it for a year or two. I probably should get her doing it again.
That's crazy.
And but that's my own content. That's on my website.
Exactly.
It's not on Facebook. It's not on LinkedIn.
So for the others listening, that could just be your apprentice following you around taking photos. I mean, technically they should be amazing at websites because they're young. So
if you've got an apprentice, just get them pick up a phone, video some crap as long as it's not illegal, and put it on your website. It's not difficult.
I love it.
It's not difficult. For my work, as you've seen how technologically disadvantaged they are. They can't do that. But I might get an apprentice just to say, no,
don't do that.
But you just got to get stuff on your website. I don't know how videos work anymore. We used to use YouTube. I don't know if there's any of that. I think my YouTube account's gone, but you can put YouTube onto your website so you're not taking up too much hostage. Like the host doesn't like videos.
Yeah, so hosting actually on embedding videos and stuff, there's a bit of a trick to it as well to properly embed them. But yes, you can embed YouTube videos on your website as well.
I'd
Yeah.
be doing that. That's
Yeah.
what we need to do. Get a YouTube account going again. We'll get some videos on there.
Well, we'll be definitely putting this on your website. This will be here. This will be on your website for sure.
So that's the thing. It's just getting stuff up there, and yeah, you will own it. And then when you go to sell your business, not that my business is worth anything, but if you were to sell it, you'd go, well, here's 20 years worth of blogs. It's yours.
Exactly, it's yours.
That could be worth a lot of money.
Mm.
I genuinely
these
think
digital assets can be worth a lot of money.
that if you've been blogging for 10, 15, 20 years, you might think your business is worth nothing if you're a plasterer in McLeod. But if you've been putting 20 years worth of blogs up on plastering jobs in McLeod that's on your own website, it's got to be worth something, yeah?
It can be everything to your business because it's direct traffic.
Yeah.
It's all measurable as well. You can say I'm getting 20,000 hits per month. Right there, that's a selling point. So it's an amazing digital asset, which I think people should consider more. And it's really easy to do. Like Drew's been able to do it for God's sake, guys. Like
Yeah. Don't know. No, I have. But you just hire someone to do it. But look, I think the other thing we spoke about before is that and I don't do it, and I should, is a newsletter, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's not going to cost a lot to do, but I genuinely think that sending out a shitty newsletter once a month or once a quarter is going to keep your customers engaged.
Being top of mind, that's all it really is about, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you do that for people, Dave?
I actually, you know what? I don't do newsletters with people because I think it should be coming from them because it's the content written for should be by them. And this is the same for blogs as well. I often get people, I do have a blogging sort of setup page thing if you want to do 5 blogs or whatever, blog booster. But honestly, I think a lot of that should be coming from yourself. And like what you've done, you're an awesome case study. You know your subject matter so well. You can get away with it one sentence, like this is what I did. And those photos are from you. You know, you're already halfway there where you've taken the photos. You might as well post it yourself. Sure, I can help you. Honestly, it's probably a service that I would just help you for free to help you set up.
So how are you going to make revenue, Dave? Let's talk about your business.
Actually, the blog setup is $1,000.
Let's get it going. Take 10% cut.
Yeah.
No, I reckon that, and I will do it, is I genuinely think that a newsletter sent to somebody from a small business, they're not going to delete it like they will their Coca-Cola newsletter on new brands of Diet Coke, yeah? People will just delete that. But if they're getting an email from a plasterer or painter once a quarter, fantastic.
Yeah. There's a great marketer called Neil Patel. He's been around forever, right? He's an SEO agency.
He's the biggest in the world, isn't he?
He's pretty big, right?
Yeah.
So I follow a lot of his content. And he talks about like just getting the best ROI for your marketing. And if you're talking about newsletters, the biggest thing you can do is the subject matter or the subject line. And that is often just putting your name. So you're the sender, not your business. So it would come from Drew. And then the subject line is 80% of what before somebody opens it. So thinking about what the subject line is and making sure it's coming from you. So there's just some tips for people if they want to start newsletters.
I reckon it would work. Yeah. If I was a local electrician setting up in McLeod, every time you collect a customer, you're collecting an email address.
Exactly.
You're going to keep them in top of mind because people aren't going to buy PowerPoint every year. No. But they might buy some electrical services every 2, and they're going to remember Dave List, electrician, because he's sent me 4 emails last year.
Yeah.
They're not going to remember anything else. They're not going to go to Facebook, are they?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they will, actually. I don't know. But
yeah, they might these days. TikTok. I mean, people are searching on TikTok these days.
What, for electricians?
Well, honestly, they're searching for everything.
On TikTok?
Yeah, it's becoming one of the biggest search engines in the world. It's crazy. They're talking about SEO now as, search engine optimization. It's actually search everywhere optimization is what they're calling it now.
Really?
Yeah, because you're talking about trying to optimize for ChatGPT. So how do I make sure when somebody types into ChatGPT, what's the best electrician around me? It comes up there.
That's why I couldn't get a concreter to fix my driveway.
Why is that?
Well, because I'm not using search everywhere optimization. I don't have any of these digital footprints to find the best concreter.
So it's changing quite dramatically, actually. So yeah, it's interesting. I wanted to move into other things that we're doing for you. Obviously, video is one of them. How do you feel about video? And because obviously video's been around forever, right? in the terms of the internet, it's been around for quite a while. But I don't think people are optimizing and using it correctly.
No, I don't think people are. Look, I was looking for a concreter, so I've had to do it myself. I couldn't find any concreter that A, would respond to me, B, would give me a reasonable price, and C, had videos and photos on their website. Because there's lots of people like me that don't use social media, yes, and I'm not going to go to Facebook to find a concreter in McLeod.
Yeah.
So I can't see any of that stuff. There's hundreds of, I'm sure there's more than two of us, yeah? There's two people that don't use social media in Melbourne. They need a driveway every 50 years. But I think video is fantastic. Like if I was to buy well, I'm going to buy a driveway, right? I'd want to see some videos of the work they've done in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
That's going to tell me they've got a crew, they've got an excavator, they've paid the bill to their concrete supplier, so I've paid them the deposit. They're going to get the work done.
Yeah.
And you're going to see the finished product.
Yeah.
How much does it cost?
To do a video or
No, well, how much does it cost for the concreter?
Oh yeah.
The concreter's done 6 months worth of videos on their website. The Neanderthal like Drew goes to their website, sees 10, 20 videos of driveways done in the last 6 months, goes, yep, they've got the staff, they've got a concrete supplier, they've got XYZ, off they go.
Yeah. Also, inside of that is you can also do video testimonials from your customers as well.
Yeah, my customers don't like me.
They don't, but imagine if, like you said, you do 6 months of those videos, at least one customer will be willing to do a video testimonial. That's all you need, because you can show that you've done your work, but also is the customer happy at the end is kind of a really good
I agree.
confirmation from, that's what you want to see as a prospect. So
Or maybe if anybody wants to be paid, you can come and be my customer for a video testimonial.
meant to be unpaid.
Oh, really, is it? So we can't pay an actor.
You could if you want.
Yeah. It's a new service you're offering, video testimonials.
Oh, that's funny.
I think you could do that, yeah? You could start an agency to bring actors in for video
I'm sure
testimonials.
there's something out there that does that already, surely.
You have to go to Baldwin, find some really nice driveways.
Yeah. Look at this driveway.
It's fantastic. I was really happy. The quality of the aggregate's amazing.
Yeah.
Just right.
So we spoke off camera about your product or service is kind of, every time that you are engaged, it's kind of a bespoke type delivery, right? How have you looked at what you're currently doing and potentially productizing some of those things, like packaging it up and saying, we do a maintenance package for, I don't know, apartments of X.
Yeah, we do that.
And
We do that now. So we'll take on a factory or an apartment and do all of the services. But we're limited in the fact that I'm scared of, well, I told you yesterday in the Telegraph, right, a fire company had installed a deluge system in an aircraft hangar for BAE Systems. So who knows who installed it, but they put it, there's a deluge system. So a deluge system has some large tanks, some massive pumps, an aggregator, you put foam with water, and then when the detection has a double knock or a triple knock or certain algorithms, the panel will release a solenoid that dumps a shit ton of water into the aircraft hangar. It's not designed to save the aircraft, it's designed to prevent a massive explosion occurring from aircraft fuel, which is incredibly volatile.
yeah.
So 2 nights ago at 2 a.m. in Newcastle, according to the Telegraph, a fire system went off and caused $280 million worth of damage to fighter jets.
Yeah, that's a lot of
damage.
A lot of damage.
If you put that across Melbourne, we're not going to get a total loss with the sprinkler system, but if you have a building that we're looking after and you have a loss and we haven't done our maintenance properly, it could be $1.5, $2 million claim for the water damage. So if we haven't maintained the system properly and the insurance investigator figures that out, it could be a $2 million claim. Getting back to why I can't expand my business, I don't trust anybody, Dave.
That's what's really hard about business in general, isn't it?
Yeah, like as I said, if I was doing domestic electrical with a van and an apprentice, I could pretty much tell that somebody could do domestic electrical work well. They could come and work for me. I can train them up. It's pretty much a repetitive thing. I'm in somewhat control because I know that we're doing a certain geographic area. I can go and check things. With fire maintenance, it's a largely automated process. Workers are out by themselves doing a set number of jobs a day right across Melbourne. The sites are large. The business owner can't be across everything. I like to be across everything.
Yeah.
If I go to a meeting, I don't need to prepare. I know what I'm looking at. I've already been there. I've figured it out. I've probably pulled it apart.
Yeah.
We're small. We're agile. We can look after a certain number of things. I can't expand the business anymore because people just stuff stuff up all the time. And it makes me
really
look like an idiot.
It's tricky, isn't it? And I think that's actually where a lot of businesses fall, is that they are quite happy being the business owner with 5 employees running around doing the thing. And there's a lot of pressure to grow businesses, isn't there? You know, you hear about growth all the time. So you're quite happy just to stay where you are currently and just continue on with the clientele that you have?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we might have to recycle some of those clients in terms of, they might leave and we might have to get new ones in, but we don't want to get any bigger. We certainly don't want to get any bigger. We can't. And I like to have holidays. I like to sleep at night. I like to know things are working. We don't necessarily have to do, we want to do things well, keep the staff happy, keep our customers happy, just stay where we are, but we don't want to dive and we don't want to expand. We want to stay. And no business coach I've ever met actually understands that concept.
It's really tricky.
Like it's like taking I've tried to take business coaches on, and I can't. Look, my mum said that Drew could never tell a story, right? And my wife says I can't tell a story, and neither can my son. So we're terrible storytellers. We would never have been able to live 1,000 years ago.
You're doing a great
I've tried to teach a business coach that I want to keep my business the same way it is now and protect the asset. I don't want it to dive. I don't want it to get bigger. I want to keep the same revenue but have more profit. They could never understand that. They could never understand that concept. They seem to think that you need to productize your business. And I'm like, I can't expand my business because it's too risky. It's too geographically advanced. I need to be able to trust the staff. And people have changed. People want a work-life flexibility. They want to turn up when they want to turn up. They want to go home when they want to go home. They don't want me micromanaging them. So for that reason, we really just want to keep what we're doing and not grow. And we don't want to dive either. Diving's not good.
No.
Because you've got to, swim back out.
Yeah.
It's hard, yeah. If you lose too many customers, it's difficult. You've got to grow again, and that's difficult. If you're not in a growth mindset, how can you grow out of a hole? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's complicated. So, and we're managing to do that. We were just treading water beautifully, keeping our head above water. But although the business coach did teach me one thing, that was, what is it? Profit First. I've talked to you about 100 times. It's a fantastic book.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I do want to talk about, though, in business, you've been in business for a long time now. What has been one of your biggest failures that you're happy to share, and what has been your biggest learnings from it?
Biggest failures.
Have you had anything go wrong within the fire industry?
No.
You're that diligent that nothing has happened?
We had one claim, Dave, and that was with electrical.
One claim with electrical?
Yeah.
What was that?
We did some, 10 years ago, we did some switchboard cleans.
Yeah.
And it was in a factory. So every year you had to go through, check all the terminals, tighten everything up. And there was a purple phase.
A purple phase?
This was a purple control wire in the frickin' switchboard.
Okay.
And when I shut the chassis door or the escutcheon, I must have clipped the purple phase against the chassis door.
Yeah.
Right? But we weren't meant, and this is stupid, we should have turned the boards back on, but they said don't turn the boards back on because we want our control electrician to do it on the Monday morning. He switched on the Monday morning, the purple phase shot the board out, took out the entire factory. We had to get a jet in Sydney, in Queensland, to fly a PLC down to lave it and to put the PLC back into the board. Completely covered by insurance, by the way. It was a complete F up on my behalf.
But how long were they out for? Like you said,
it was
PLC,
a factory.
It's quite a big factory.
Yeah, they were out all day because the jet had to launch from Brisbane and fly to Melbourne.
Oh my God.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know what it cost. I feel sorry for the insurance.
I was going to say, you don't know what the claim was?
Nah.
Wow.
No, they paid it because it was stuff up on my behalf. Everyone makes mistakes, yeah.
Yeah.
How could I have learnt from that? Probably should have called the control electrician on to turn this, to put the cup. Look, it was a messy switchboard.
Yeah.
I don't do electrical work anymore, really. We try and keep out of that sort of stuff. That's our only claim ever that I know of.
Well, incredibly lucky, to be perfectly honest.
A lot of people have had, significant claims. I know that, so allegedly, and I don't know this for a fact, so in the fire industry, claims have gone from 1 per month to 1 per week for putting so a lot of people will put, 50 flexis in a tenancy. You've got the head here. The apprentices, someone's going around putting in the heads. They've got to put 50 in. They forget to leave a head out. They turn the water on and flood the tenancy.
Oh my God.
That happens all the time because the staff aren't diligent, which is why we don't like to expand our business.
And these, do you think it might be because of these flexi hoses? That's a new technology.
No. Well, it's been around for 10 years or so. But no, it's not that. They just don't put the head in.
That's crazy.
The apprentice forgets to put the head in the sprinkler,
Oh my God.
in the nozzle. Yeah, they forget to put the head in, and then all of a sudden you've got an open end, and you've got water flowing out, and you've got 5 blokes yelling at each other who was meant to put the heads in, and all that sort of stuff. I don't do any of that. I don't want to. It's I know that again can cause a $500,000 claim.
Well, that's universal across most trade businesses. Would be you employ somebody, and how is it that you make sure that you've got the right processes in place to make sure that they're doing the right thing?
And that's a whole job in itself.
Yeah.
So that's, when we talk about scalability, our business would have to scale up to having an operations manager, writing down systems and procedures, training, and it leads to a lot of, I don't know. I don't want to go there. It's not, I'm not that sort of person. Well, some people love that stuff.
Yeah, they can. I mean, people want to grow their businesses.
Yeah, they've got it.
And so it's okay to want to leave it where you are.
It's okay if you're not. Yeah, and that's a really important thing that I've understood. I'm not somebody that wants to write down thousands of systems and procedures. I don't want to have constant team meetings. I don't want to have a HR department. I don't want any of that stuff. It's not a nice, I want to go to work and have a cup of coffee and relax and know that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's also about lifestyle, isn't it?
It is. It's about lifestyle. I think business owners really need to what does my wife say? Stick to your own lane.
Yeah.
Some people need to understand if they're not that sort of person, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can have 2 or 3 staff and have a good life and make good money, and then that's it. You don't need to worry about anything else.
Now, we spoke previously about we were talking about processes. What software are you using to help sort of distribute to the guys out in the field? Because you've got a couple of employees.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't really get to a point where you're correctly distributing jobs and stuff without using software these days. So what are you?
Big fan of Simpro.
Yeah, a lot of tradies are on Simpro.
Love Simpro. I'm a big fan of Simpro. I know there's other software programs out there that are more specific to the fire industry, but it gets back to this. It's a bit like the website and blogging. When you've been using something for so long, that works, and it's $1 billion company.
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy just to keep using it. It doesn't do things that quite as much as you would like it to do, but it's got a new feature now called, I don't know what it's called, but it's got an API and it's got a program called Power BI. So that means that you can pay people to customize whatever you like to pick the data up in Simpro and do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
So Simpro is incredibly flexible. Any sort of business can use Simpro and then customize it to what they want it to do.
What are you using it for specifically?
So Power BI, customer interface. So the customer can log on and see a property and they can see the status of their assets.
So the client logs on to their own portal.
Yeah, so they can already log into the Simpro portal, but what we've done is you can integrate Power BI, can pick the data up within Simpro and then move it to a company that does dashboards.
Got you. Okay.
So, and that's so much cheaper than buying a customized fire product.
And what type of dashboard program are you using?
It's a customized company that does it for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, the great thing is about technology now is anybody can do anything, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to buy a customized program. You just have to have the willingness to put the time in to figure it out.
Yeah.
So anything can talk to anything with an API.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
So you can take any software program, Arrowflow if it's got an API. ServiceMate's got ServiceMate's another great one. I started with ServiceMate when they first started their business. That's an amazing program.
Why did you transition?
We haven't really. We still use ServiceMate's telephone.
Oh, really?
So our database goes into the ServiceMate API, and we use the ServiceMate phone because it goes out to 3 workers and it records the call and gives you a transcript. And
got you. Okay.
Yeah, ServiceMate's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all those, and Arrowflow is another amazing product as well.
Owned by Simpro.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Are you sure?
Arrowflow. Yeah, Arrowflow. One of them is.
Arrowflow are in
Ringwood. Yeah, they're bought by Simpro. They also bought ClockShark. They also bought ClockShark as well. They bought everything.
Oh, I don't even know. I mean, that's a timekeeping thing, is it?
Yeah,
ClockShark. Okay.
Yeah.
It's another one for tradies if they're listening as well.
Arrowflow and Ringwood.
Yeah. Yes.
ServiceMate's in Darwin. That's a good tax deduction to go there. That was started by a locksmith.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I'm tradies. They could do anything. I'm telling you. Tradies are legends.
How many companies like ServiceMate have popped out of Darwin before? That'd have to be the only one.
Only one, yeah. The only one with a gigantic building that everyone goes to because they're so big.
Do they?
No, it's the only company that's up there.
I'll have to carry your gear when you go to interview the guy that owns it. He's probably got a yacht in the Darwin Harbour.
Yes.
ServiceMate yacht.
So we spoke about earlier about exploiting apprentices to do photographs. But seriously, what do you think the state of apprentices are within the trade industry as a whole?
I don't do apprentices because I have no emotional connection with them. I can't connect with them. I can't manage them. I have no way of understanding how these young people work these days. They are just
Interesting.
Yeah. You have to be a certain sort of person. You have to have a culture of apprentices. So I know lots of businesses that have 4 apprentices. They do it really well. I don't have the time to do them. I don't understand them anymore.
Is it because to do the right thing, you're going to have to put effort in to making sure that
Yeah, and I don't have the available executive functioning to manage an apprentice properly.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
Have you had them in the past?
Yeah, I have, and I've done a terrible job.
Okay.
So I've accepted I can't have apprentices. I think that people really need to focus on how they're going to look after the apprentice, how they're going to pay the apprentice, how they're going to manage all the time off the apprentice has. It's 8 weeks a year at trade school, 4 weeks annual leave, 12 days of public holidays. You've got to pay them for all that time.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, so people think that having an apprentice is cheap. I think the reason apprentice numbers are going down is it's not cheap, and they're not productive in their first year. If you're going to do the right thing by them,
Yeah.
they really need to shadow an experienced tradesman for a year. It's a big commitment, mate. That could be a $55,000-$60,000 investment for very little return in the first year. So I think they're exploited. I think they're given tasks to do that they can learn very quickly, and that it's given those tasks for a certain amount of time. And you can't really do that in maintenance. We've got so much to learn. How can we? I can't give them repetitive tasks to get good at it.
Yeah.
To then go and learn another repetitive task. So that's why they left on construction, just framing or not fixing, or hanging doors and putting windows in and not doing cladding, for example, with the carpentry. That's why I think apprentices are struggling. It's the cost of having them.
Do you think what type of incentives could be done? I mean, ultimately, when you employ somebody, you need an ROI. Otherwise, why employ anybody at all?
I don't know how you can do it because you'd have to bring the wages down to be able to. The other thing is that it also, if you've got an experienced tradesman that's got an ROI, so if you've got a 58-year-old male or female that's generating money for the business, you put an apprentice with them, you could slow the productivity down by 15 or 20%.
So it
to
goes
get
on
them
both sides.
It goes on. It goes on both sides. I don't know how you fix it, and that's the problem with electricians, right? They might learn how to wire up new homes in new subdivisions, or they know how to do control gear, but they don't know how to do both.
Yeah.
Now that's dangerous for the consumer. They're coming out the other side only being able to do one task. I know that you've got e-profiling and stuff, but I don't know how.
Profiling. If anybody is listening, in Victoria we have something called profiling for electrical apprentices, and it's crap. It's essentially just listing down what tasks you're doing, and you can just make it up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's
but
not governed.
But that needs to be governed by Australian Victorian Skills Qualifications Authority. They really need to look at this.
Yeah.
The only way you can fix it, and it's a horrible thing to say, is to bring down the wages of apprentices, and they're not going to accept that.
I don't think that's
not an option. It's not an option.
You can't do that.
So you've got to put more subsidies into them, like they used to. A wage subsidy back into the business to say that you're going to get $10,000 a year for putting an apprentice in, or $15,000 a year. You can't bring the wages down, but you can subsidise them into the business. But I think that's a great investment into the community if the apprentice is being given a broad variety of tasks.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're not being given a broad variety of tasks, it's just rorting. So if you're going to start giving $15,000 a year to apprentices, but they're still going to work on new subdivisions and not be given the opportunity to do commercial.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. So how do you stop any of that rorting?
Yeah.
As soon as you start giving money out, you start getting rorts. So I have no idea.
Well, also, like back 30 years ago, apprentices would do their time and stick with the employer. So it seemed like it was a good investment into somebody's education. So you could train them up and they would understand your business and the trade, and they would go on to actually, give you an ROI. Now you have no guarantee. They could leave in their 4th year.
They do.
Yeah.
They live in their 2nd, 3rd and 4th year. And the ROI, or the investment you've put into training that person's out the door, specifically in fire, if you was to train up a detection or sprinkler apprentice to be an expert in maintenance, they'd be gone in their 4th year to a large multinational company that wants to, really utilise those skills that person's learnt. They're not going to hang around for 15 or 20% less wages because people want to buy a house.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to go on holidays. They want to have a car.
Yeah.
Small business can't afford what big business can afford to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's no reflection on the business or the apprentice. That's just life. Maybe that's why they get more retention of apprentices in the country, because cost of living isn't so high. Oh, look, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. What advice would you have for somebody looking at a trade, whether it's the type of trade that they're looking at getting, or what advice might you have for them actually getting one, or who they might speak to get one?
I don't know who does apprentices anymore. I only know
There's
plumbers.
apprenticeship schemes. Like
Yes, so Master Plumbers does it, I think.
Oh, okay.
Master Electricians used it, or NECA does it.
Yeah, Nika.
Yeah, it's a group training schemes are pretty good because you get a variety of work.
Yeah.
So maybe a group training scheme's the way to go if you wanted to get a wide variety of work.
Megit, I think, or Meg T, people call them, or Serena Russo.
Yeah, Meg GT.
Yeah.
Serena Russo. Group apprenticeships are probably the way to go. Who does construction? I'm guessing the master builders or something.
I have no idea.
No. Group apprenticeships, I reckon, is the way to go.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
And that's been around.
There
you go. Yeah. Been around forever.
So, just wrapping it up, Drew, can you, if people want to get in touch with you because they've listened to this and they're like, well, I have an apartment building and, maybe we need to get an audit or something. Is there any way that they can contact you? Where can they get in touch?
Dave will have a fantastic form on our website at melfire.com.au. Fill that out and I'll give you a call.
It'll be everywhere, plastered everywhere. You can't miss him. And there's blogs all over the place. If you want to learn more about the fire industry, Drew is all across it. So, Drew, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, Dave. I'll be sure to listen.
Drew, a massive thank you for coming on the Digital Tradie podcast. I did learn a bit about just slowing down and analysing your business, and I really like your relaxed approach. Anyway, you know the drill. I'm David List, and this has been the Digital Tradie. Share this with your mum, and until next time, make sure you're creating some legendary content.